Hey, it's Paul McFadden here. Welcome to the Property Success Podcast. My whole goal with this podcast is to bring on guests who will inspire you. And today's guest, we've got Paul Laurie. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Paul. I am great. I'm really looking forward to this. So we'll see how we go.
So am I too, because you've got a great story. And I want to really dig into that because for me, being able to be fortunate enough to have conversations with people like yourself, and I always look back to my own early journey, especially when I was getting started in my own property business and trying to figure things out. I was always inspired by watching other people and seeing what people were up to and what they were doing and the success that they were having. And this is why I do the podcast, because I think that for many people that get the opportunity to tune in and watch this, they'll just take to different people. And I think that there is the whole goal that I've got to do with this whole podcast. And from your own story and how I like to kick these things off is to go back to before you got involved in property so that people can understand that your background and what you've been up to yourself. So maybe take us back to the younger Paul and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I can do. Depends how far you want to go back because I'm getting on a bit now. But anyway, I was obviously at school once upon a time, and I was doing A levels, and I was doing maths, economics, and physics. And I found out that you could get a sponsorship to join the RAF, and they'll pay for you to finish your A levels at the time, and they'll pay for you to do your degree, and then you've got to sign up obviously at the end of it. And I was really into it because Top Gun was the big film at the time. Again, showing my age. And I really wanted to do that. 16, 17-year-old lad, this is what I dreamt of, this is all I want to be. And then I found out going through the process that I was too tall to fly fighter planes. Because apparently, if you're above a certain height, and I can't remember what it was now, I think it was about 5'11" or something like that, it'll rip your legs off at the knee if you eject.
Oh, man.
so, so at that age, it massively knocked me because I was like, this is all I want to do. I was really focused on wanting to do that. So being that age as well, I was into girls and drinking and going out and all the rest of it, and that just got heavier. So I dropped out and ended up joining catering college, which is how I ended up spending the rest of my life doing catering until just recently. So I had real ambition and dreams and drive when I was a youngster. So I was an assistant manager in a big hotel at the age of 19. I got my first full management position where I was managing a business at sort of 24, 25. That was sort of ambition goals that I'd set myself. And by the time I'm 30, I wanted to be an area manager, at least. So whilst by the time I was 30, I was managing one of the biggest properties in the portfolio of the company I was working for at the time. I had something like 80 employees. I found my ambition started to wane a little bit, and I believed that I couldn't get any further, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So later on in my 30s, it was like, this ain't happening for me now. And I ended up sort of dropping back into a chefing role and just working in kitchens because I've had enough of the public and dealing with everything that's involved in that. And I'd almost reached a point, if I'm being brutally honest, where it's like, this is me till the day I die. I'd had no ambition, no wants, no needs, no desires. So I didn't want holidays necessarily. I didn't dream of them. I didn't dream of nice cars. I didn't dream of anything. I had no dreams. I was just like, this is it. I just carry on working as I'm doing. I'm happy in my life, or thinking I'm happy in my life, because I'm very fortunate. I'm married to Emma, my wife, and we've been married for 25 years this year. And that's sort of been a big thing for me. We're best friends. We're best of company, and I really enjoy spending time with her. And then my sister got into the property stuff, and I sort of showed an interest in it. It was something I should have done years ago, because when I was at the height of my career, I was I was paying no bills whatsoever. I had a really good salary. I had nice cars. I had 2 or 3 holidays here. But I was just spending and living the high life, for want of a better word. I never thought of money. Quite literally didn't have to think of money at all or paying any bills at all. I just didn't care. And then with my sister doing this stuff, she gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. And I read that book and said, I wish I'd have read that 20 years ago, because my life would be totally different now. There's no doubt about it, because I was just spending. Instead of doing that, I realised buy an asset, earn some money, and then you can do that forever.
Yeah. It's crazy how much that book's had an impact in so many people's lives. It was one of the first books that I read, and I remember a few things that I just came across. This whole idea of owning your own home, like as in your house that you live in, and everyone looks at it as an asset. And of course, it can be, but the fact that it's taking out money from your own pocket every single month,
Absolutely.
then the sense of it's a liability. And that there's a bit of a mind shift for many people. And then, of course, one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki is so famous for is his whole cash flow quadrant,
Yeah.
and for most people, we're at the left hand side of the cash flow quadrant, whether you're an employee or self employed. And on the right hand side, you've got business owner or investor. And a lot of people are thinking, well, I'm a business owner. And the definition, whether you're self employed or over on the right hand side of being a business owner, and this is the one that I love to use, is that if you could go on holiday from your business tomorrow, like unannounced, you just decide, I'm not showing up into the office tomorrow, and you can disappear, have your phone switched off, don't check in with anyone in your business for 6 months. Once you come back, is your business still alive?
Yeah, does
Right?
it still exist?
does it,
The answer's
does
no,
it
then
still
it's not.
exist? Because if it's not, it means you're still working in the business,
Aye.
which means you're on the left side under self-employed. And that's fine. That's an awareness thing to realize, wow, okay, how do I transition from the left to the right? How can I start transition from working into working on the business so that I have a business that's operational with or without me? And what I love about the world of property and what I saw from reading his book and what I've saw in my own life, and I guess the principles that we apply with anything that we teach to help people, is to get people to move from that left side to the right side
Aye.
as quick as possible. And of course, being the business owner is one thing, but you through property can be an investor from day one if you operate and act like an investor. And this is what I love about what you guys do, because you have a collective team, your sister Michelle and her business partner Craig as well, and how the three of you work together for a combined goal of being able to go out there, source, find the right deals. Michelle comes in with the finance and the funding, Craig supporting the team and everything else as well. You're going out there applying yourself, securing great deals, which I want to get into, because it
Absolutely.
just seems like, every week you're it's like, okay, what's Paul got now? He's got another deal,
It's become a bit like that, and that again stems from the sort of your books, your original property books. So I read those when my sister had obviously started, and she saw me showing an interest, and we had those conversations. And then at that point, her and Craig decided they needed somebody to go out and do the work, because they're tied into their other businesses and they can't spend 40 hours a week looking at properties and doing the deals and everything else that's involved in that. So they offered me a job, thankfully. And now I work primarily just to find deals. So all I do is go out every week looking at properties, doing evaluations on deals. And then we've set up all the systems that you teach about. So we've got a Trello board set up with all the monthly mothballed, and then we can go back and look if it's still online, if it's still available. So whilst we have got a couple of off-market deals, most of it's on market, so everybody can find it. It's there. It's just about putting the reps in, and
This
that's what
this
we
is
talk about all the time.
Yeah, this is what I love what you're saying here. It's crazy how that there's deals there if you take the time. And I'm not talking about countless amounts of hours. It's just taking the time to look at, again, selecting a gold mine area so you get familiar with a location and start to understand what a deal is. And if you take that time to start to identify properties, keeping a pulse on where they're at, and then more importantly, just going out there and doing the work. And that's exactly what you've done. Now, before we get into that, because I think that's always great, so tell me a bit more about, because you had that drive when you were younger, in a sense of wanting to go to the RAF, and obviously that changed things for you too. And you said there that you found yourself in a situation where, you were just, I guess, going through life. You kind of had settled in a
Totally.
sense. What was because I don't see that. The Paul that I know is very different. It seems like it's the younger Paul.
Oh, yeah, near enough. It's been a dramatic change in my life, and I thanked you the last time I did the protege at the end of it, because without you, my sister wouldn't be doing what she's doing, which means I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And if I hadn't have done that, I would have quite literally just walked into death almost. It very much was that case. I didn't feel depressed or down or anything. I'd just reached an acceptance that this is me forever,
Yeah.
which is a very strange situation. I'm not going to deny it. Whereas now I'm back to, in 10 years' time, me and my sister could choose to give up work. That's going to happen. There's
Oh
no,
no, like
there's no, there's
like
no ifs, buts, or maybe. That's gonna
knowing
happen.
you, and especially your sister, I know that's for true. For
So,
like, yeah,
so the other side to that is because I know my sister. The chances are we'll both carry on working because we're just enjoying what we're doing. So right now that's the dream and the idea. But when we get there, we may find actually, you know what, we're really happy with what we're doing. Let's just carry on doing it
yeah,
and getting where we can from it. But we've got that drive, ambition, goal, want, need, whatever. I've got all that back now, which, I'm 50 in January, and that's a massive thing to have gone from it's all over 12 months ago to now I'm 50 in January, but I've got 10 years that I want to make my bank and I want to get to a place where I can enjoy my life
yeah,
with my wife and my mum and dad and my sister, because we all live together in the steading, which is, a wonderful way to live. Most people in COVID hated it, but for us, because of the way we live, was some of the best times we've ever had.
yeah,
Because we were living in the courtyard, sun coming down, getting the beers out, chatting, spending time together, and sort of really bringing us together as a family.
yeah. I love that. Family's so important, for me anyway, and I know that's the case for yourself too. So, okay, so you came along to Prodigy. Just what was your thoughts from that coming along, and I guess from your background, having no property background or history,
Absolutely.
how did you find it in a sense?
Um, I'd done the jump start when I first started. So in June or July, I think it was June. In June, I'd done jump start with my sister, and I'd started work full time for her that week. So I was already started looking at properties and started doing the deal calculator and all the rest of it and everything else. But the protege itself, again, because by then it was the September, I'd spent a couple of months doing deals as such, trying to find the properties, trying to run through the numbers and all the rest of it. So the first half was quite nice for me because it's all the stuff that I do every day,
Yeah,
which meant I could actually really drill into what I wanted to learn from it. So my biggest learning from those first couple of days was end market value first,
yeah,
because I was working it the wrong way around.
mm-hmm.
I was working out how much I can get a discount for first,
Yeah,
rather than what the property potentially is going to be worth. So that was like the biggest learning for me. So now that's the first thing I do is, if this property was amazing, how much is it worth? And then I can work it out based on that.
yeah. I love what you're saying there because it's one of the most common things I hear when people are thinking about getting started in a property journey. They always focus on the discount, and no, no wonder why so many people don't get deals because they're so focused on the discount. And this is where it skews the numbers. Not only does it skew the numbers that you're not being competitive with the offers that you make because you're trying to get too big of a discount, or two, you don't get the right level of discount that you can't make money. And that's where everyone's focus is because it sounds like, oh, well, if I'm buying the discount, it sounds logical, but you've got to work your way back from the end, as in, what's this property going to be worth? Once we fully renovate it, modernize it, what's the ceiling price in today's, whatever day it is in this time in the market? What's the end market value? And then you work your way back, as you've said there. So it's great that you saw that as an awareness.
Yeah, real learning. And whilst at that point, I've probably done 2 months worth of looking at stuff, and we'd got stuff set up, but again, as we're going along, we're learning more and we're changing how we're doing things. So, for example, I had mothballed as just one column originally, and then I was realizing you've got like 50 properties in there now. It's like, how are you going to find something? So we changed it to the monthly process, and
Yeah.
then we put a traffic light system in place where it's like red if it's already sold, amber if we don't necessarily think we're going to get that one, and then
Yeah.
green if we're going to go in again with the same offer.
Yeah, let's unpack this because what you're saying is great. So one of the things that we always talk about is treating your property business as a business, but
Yeah.
very few people do. They just think they're investing, and part of that is having systems in place. So of course you've got your trail boards and stuff set up. This whole idea of mothballing, which is great because this is where so many people could get deals if they're just persistent and keep like a record of the deals that you go and look at, the properties you go and look at. So I love what you're saying there about the traffic light system and everything else because a lot of deals come a few months after the first time you look at it.
Almost every one that we've got is based on that, and some of them as much as 5 months. That from when we were originally offered, we've gone back every month with the same offer, and eventually they've gone, I just want rid now. But it takes that time and that persistence and that we're just going to do it. it's working for us. And right now, every month we're getting one or two take a bite, or that's what it feels like at the moment. Of
Yeah.
the stuff that we've done historically, and we're obviously, as time's gone on, we've spent time with investors, and we're now getting to a place where we've got preferred investors, and we've got investors that are just putting the money in for a return, and that's made a big difference as well. So to start off with, we weren't finding. I was finding the deals, we weren't finding the money. Then we were finding the money, we weren't finding the deals, and now we seem to be at a place where it's kind of evened out a little bit, where we've got sort of potential JVs with people, and we've got preferred investors that are looking for specific properties. One of the hardest things I had actually was I've got a preferred investor that wants a specific type of property on a specific type. They're really like, this is what I want. So it's the council houses in Dundee. I don't know if you know that market at all, but it's highly competitive because the returns are really good. So you can get 12-14% yields because you can buy a property for like £100,000. You can rent it out for £1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they wanted. Well, I've looked at every single council house since starting the process for them, and I've only got one over the line now, and I was doing that for nearly 2 months. Every time one came out, I was viewing, I was offering based on the numbers, obviously still.
Yeah.
And one just come over the line, but it was like, that was hard work for a sourcing fee. Don't get me wrong, and we view our sourcing for those particular guys as an educational piece as well. So we give them the decent broker to look at, which, funnily enough, is your guys at Express, and we give them our solicitor to talk to because they charge us really good rates. We're only paying £1,000 for a property currently every time we buy something, and we give them those as well so they can have those conversations with those, and we're trying to be a little bit more open to conversation about it rather than is a deal buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've taken them through the process, and I think that's working for us because I think we're adding value by treating them as human beings, not just as a number that we can get some money off.
Yeah, it's the best way of doing it, and that comes across anytime I'm chatting to you, as well as with Michelle and Craig, because relationships are incredibly important. And when people are thinking about getting their portfolio built for them, and that's something that you guys are doing for others as well, it's knowing that they're not just, oh, here's a property, there you go and figure it out yourself, because it's having that level of support to help them along in their journey. And what I love about you guys is that you're not only helping people build their portfolio, you're building your own portfolio as well. You're joint venturing, collaborating with other people within the community too for a Prodigy group. And this is what I love to see, because you've got that right mindset, that right approach. It's not this scarcity mindset of, I just need to do a deal myself, I'm not going to work with anyone else. You guys have been open to doing that. And something you said before we started the podcast is like, yeah, I find the deals and Michelle finds the money. And you've got just such a great balance there to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, and I've been involved in a lot of the investor conversations with my sister and them, and part of that is, again, we want to know the people. We want to be able to do what's right for them. So those conversations work better when we're both involved, because it just gives that balance. It's more of a chat rather than a little bit too specific. If it was just one of us having a conversation with them, we can sort of share our knowledge and our skill set, for want of a better word,
Yeah.
to be able to help them along their way on their journeys. There's no getting away from it. I'm really happy with the way things are right now. And as you said, we're trying to build a business. It's not, everybody's different, and I think people need to get their heads around that as well. Some people will be happy with one deal a year because you know what, that one deal a year, it's a big chunk of money that they've not got that'll pay for the holidays, a couple of holidays a year, because that's what they want. Some people like us want to build a business so that it supports itself and we can walk away and still have the money coming in and the earnings in 10 years' time, as I discussed. It's all about building it for yourself and what you want and what your needs and dreams are. If you want a business, then you have to treat it as such. We've just grown again, so we've got a marketing person in now who's doing all our social media stuff. So that has dramatically improved, because before, me and my sister were doing it between us, and I know she doesn't particularly like it. and I know it was a drain on my time as well. Rather than looking at properties and trying to evaluate deals,
Yeah.
you're doing social media posts. But we try to be that consistent stuff because, again, it's the stuff that you teach. If you're consistent, you keep going out there, then people will see what you're doing and they'll show interest. And then you potentially got JVs, potentially
Yeah.
got investors coming and speaking to you.
Yeah.
Because of the back of that.
And you've got some active deals on yourselves at the moment. And Michelle was saying just the other day you've secured a couple more deals as well.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, we've got Dundee that we're JVing with DX.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Octomukti. So Dundee's is a 3-bed bungalow that's going to be a 5-bed bungalow. Octomukti's a 5-bed house already. Leven is a 4-bed detached that's right on the seaside. I can't believe the estate agents on this one. So the estate agents didn't have a single photo of the views, and it's right on the seafront. You can't have like beach, sea, absolutely stunning location, and on none of the stuff was these views. I'm like, no wonder it didn't sell. The one thing that would make it sell, you haven't advertised. It blew my mind, that one. So yeah, that was a really good deal we got on that one, and then I've got one for an investor in Kenaway, which is near Leven as well, and we've got one in Dundee, the one that I just thankfully got over the line for a preferred investor.
Yeah.
And then the one that just came in on Friday is a 2-bed bungalow. We're going to convert to a 4-bed.
Yeah.
In Glenrothes. So yeah, it's definitely all hands on deck at the minute.
Yeah. No, I love this, especially when you are adding more value. So you just mentioned the one that you've just got there on Friday that's secured. You're going to be adding in a couple extra bedrooms, so that's going to really drive up the value of the property. The first one that you mentioned too, it went from was it a 3 to 5 bed?
Absolutely.
Again, driving
it's
up
5
the value.
bed 4 bath, that one.
Okay,
So
great.
it currently is currently it's a 3 bed 1 bath. It's going to be a 5.
So high level numbers. Are you going to keep that one, or are you going to flip it?
Flip.
What's
So we're joint venturing on DX with that one.
Yeah.
So that one originally was home report 185.
Mm-hmm.
We got it for 130.
Okay.
End market value is 350.
Wow.
We're going to have to spend 100.
Okay.
But a lot of that 100, because we're raising the EPC from an F to at least a C, will come back from stuff that we can claim from grants.
Yeah. So again, my just high level figures. If it sells for 350, you're making the best part of 65 to 70 grand. You know, which is great. And I know you're joint venturing with the DX boys. We've had David from DX on the podcast as well. You know, it's great that you're doing that and collaborating, and great guys to work with on that. And this one you just secured on Friday because you're doing a 2 to 4 bed.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a flip as well?
Yeah, that'll be a flip as well. We're trying to basically just get some funds in to sort of eventually get to a place where we can buy property and get the money. Because we had a really good deal slip through our fingers, which, you know, we just didn't have the money to do it. This was a service accommodation increase.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 50 grand discount on that one.
Yeah.
But the income off that was over £100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it was just like, can we get the money to do this? We tried everything to try and work out how we can make it happen, and we couldn't. We actually put it out to the tribe, funnily enough, because we just couldn't make it work for us. And it was almost desperate, because you got one over that you're like, we really want that. We can't do anything about it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the sort of thing we want to get into eventually, so that we've
Yeah.
got that general income coming in forever.
Yeah.
And you're not stuck in that situation where the flips are great and we're making good income off that, but that's that whole thing of it's just dead money.
Yeah.
It's dead money until you invest in it and you're getting money back off it all the time consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you shared that as well, because that's the nature of this game, being involved in property. You know, you win some, you lose some. And as long as you still have, you know, a positive attitude towards your business and realise that some deals you're not going to, you know, they're going to fall through, or you're not going to get the funds for it. But I tell you what it does though, and I hope it's been the case for you, and I know it is, it gives you that motivation for next time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's that whole no piece. So to start off with, I've struggled a little bit, and I think my sister will tell you this as well. We've both struggled a little bit with how long everything takes in property, right? Because we're used to instant success is the wrong word, but we make a decision, it happens.
Yeah.
Whereas we make a decision now, and the solicitors might do it in 8 weeks' time. We make a decision now, and it takes that long for anything to get done. So you're doing a refurb, and it's 12 weeks before you've got the end result, or 8 weeks till you've got the end result if you're really good. And it's like, this takes forever. We used to like done.
Do you know what's
And that
crazy?
positive momentum, we've had to change our mindset to, you know what, it will happen. We just got to
Yeah.
keep going at it.
Do you know what's crazy with what you're saying there? Because the one way it's hilarious. Because when I get started in property, everyone's heard the story at 19. You know, I replaced my income and went full time in property at 24. So it took me 5 years to replace my income. And that was through building a portfolio. And I've shared the story, but for those that maybe haven't heard it, of the 10 properties that I had by the age of 24, I only owned one in my own personal name. The other 9 I owned with someone else, other people. So I would have 50% of the income on those 9 properties. So just over £2,000 a month was my share of the income from that portfolio. And I was doing some deal trades along that way as well to bring in some extra cash. Now, 5 years to replace my income and go full-time property, I thought that was incredibly fast. Like, I thought that was so fast. But then when I see people like you and Michelle and Craig and many others that come through a Protege program, you know, doing that inside of 12 months, because you're working on flips that's going to make you, you know, high, like 6 figures, going towards, you know, over 200K in terms of flips, and you're deal trading, and you're still active in work, and you've been in your journey for less than a year. Now, I know that you mean though, because it is property, it does take a little bit of time, so I understand, I get it, but how funny is that?
But I think that's become the drive now, though, because we're used to that. We're in a place now. We're slowly getting to a place where we understand everything takes that little bit longer.
Yeah.
And even like the mortgage stuff, just the process and having
Yeah.
those discussions and how you're going to make the deal work. We've got better at that. So we're not quite as frustrated, shall we say, as we
Yeah.
used to be. And I've had to get used to people saying no. So, you know, that's difficult as well, because I like to think I like to please people, and I'm a nice enough guy. And people say no all the time when you're offering 50, 60,000 pound discount on property, which, you know, you'd
Yeah.
expect them to. But the other side to that is you get them to bite, and then you have that rush. I mean, the first one, I got a massive rush off when I got it over the line, because it was like, that's an incredible deal. You know, I know my sister's been on Shed the Numbers of the Curie Mill stuff originally, but getting that over the line was a big thing for me at the time.
Yeah. So how have you found yourself just having a shift in your whole career and life over the last year? Because the reason I share that is because it seems to me, and I guess it's your positive attitude, and I just love being around people that have that mindset, right? And look, there's challenges, of course, but it's how do you deal with them, right? Because for me, it seems like water off a duck's back with you. And from definitely coming from that not being your background.
Yeah, I mean, I think in catering, you're dealing with problems all the time. And every day, there's a different thing that needs dealing with, whether it's somebody calling in sick or having to do something else or a customer complaining or whatever. So I'm used to dealing with things on the hoof and changes and whatever else. But I'm also, again, I've got to give my sister praise for this, because a lot of it does stem from her. She spent a lot of time working on herself. And spending time with gurus is the wrong word. I don't know what you call them, mentors, or
Coaches,
whatever,
yeah, absolutely.
people coaches and skills and all the rest of it. And a lot of that I've sort of took on board myself. I'm not in a place where I'm doing that myself, but I am spending an hour in the gym every morning, consistently, every day. I am spending an hour trying to improve my education, so reading things like the library of books that obviously you guys got on Protege. I went out and bought the entire library on the first day that I was signed up. And again, I've gone through those books, and I've also bought the audio book as well, so that I'm trying to get the learning from both.
Yeah.
And trying to improve my skills and what I do. And that stems from my sister. If she hadn't been doing what she was doing and I hadn't seen those results myself,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now to try and improve myself and try and get myself into a real positive mindset that, you know, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from that. And we feed off that amongst ourselves. So if one of us is having a bad day, the chances are one of the other ones will make us laugh.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way we're operating right now.
Absolutely.
And that belief of We'll get over whatever comes our way. Doesn't matter what the obstacle is.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you'll agree with what I'm about to say, but ties into what you just said there about going to the gym in the morning and all that stuff. How important has health become to you? Because if you, again,
massively.
with no level of disrespect, you probably agree that you're not in the best shape that you
No,
would like to be.
absolutely. And again, that stems from that I was walking to death. There's no getting away from that. I just decided it is what it is, and I was doing nothing to try and improve myself. So I watched the Andrew Huberman stuff, and I kind of got into that. So we've got that morning routine thing. So I'm up at 5, I'm in the gym at 6, I do an hour in the gym, and then go to work, and then start my day looking at property stuff. And that stems from that wanting to improve who I am and want to live longer, want to live a better life. I always joked that my sister and my wife would end up rattling around a big home one day, one of them in a wheelchair and one of them on sticks, going out to Iron Apple and giving it large, because that's just the way they are. So I've always joked that would be the case, but whereas now I'm like, you know what, I'd like to be a part of that. So to do that, I need to do something about me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's amazing, because the one thing I love about what I've just been talking to you just now is that it's clear that you guys already have achieved so much in such a short period of time, and it's just going to be amazing. The deals that you're going to continue to be doing, the growth that you're both going to be, well, the collective business is going to go through. And for me, just seeing that something was just a trigger point for you to shake you out of so long of just settling and just accepting for what is. And it must be incredibly exciting for you. It must be so fulfilling to realize, wow, it's a new spark, a new lease of my life.
Huge, because there's no getting away from it. At 20, I was owning the world. But at 40, I'd accepted that this was my world. And that's just, and now I'm almost back to that 20-year-old. I've got dreams of having a nice home in a nice place in a beautiful part of the world with sun coming in and not worrying about it, and eating out and drinking and enjoying my life with my family.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And even just the daft stuff like going on safari with my wife and, potentially going to somewhere like Singapore, just because I quite like the idea of travelling and cultural stuff now.
Yeah.
Whereas sort of that had all disappeared because I know that they were expensive things to do, and I knew I wasn't going to earn the money to make that happen. Whereas now I'm back in a place where no, that will happen. It just may not be today.
Yeah. Love it. So as we wrap this up, I guess fast forward over the next few years, where do you see Paul?
Well, I think the company will continue to grow. We're already talking about having a second version of me. And I think there'll be 2 or 3 of me within our company looking for deals, trying to run the numbers, trying to get things sorted. I think my sister, potentially in 3 or 4 years' time, maybe working half the time in Portugal, half the time over here, because she's keen to do that. I can see us being in a place where I can afford to let my wife retire, because she's struggling a little bit physically now, because she's still in retail, so she's still quite a physical job that she's doing. So it'd be nice to give her an option to either calm her hours, because she's quite independent as well, so she still wants to do stuff, I'm sure, or retire if she wants to. And us just to carry on as we're doing. And I do think by then we'll be buying portfolios rather than individual houses for the group to generate the income side. And we'll continue to do some flips if we're getting the sort of numbers that we're getting at the moment. We'd be daft not to, because we can use that money to then buy a portfolio.
Absolutely.
And then just carry on generating an income and go from there.
Great stuff. Paul, it's been a pleasure. It's been great having this conversation with you.
Been great to spend time with you as well, Paul, to be honest with you.
No, this one's going to be definitely, it's going to hit home for many people and be because again, for me doing these podcasts, it's just hearing people's stories and their backgrounds and what gets them to tick and what gets them motivated to do what they're doing. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot from this. So thanks again, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Great stuff. So as always, if you've enjoyed the podcast, do me a favour, hit that subscribe button. If you get any comments as well, pop it in the comments box below. I'm sure that Paul will be keeping an eye out to go in there and respond, and I'll be there too. So until next time, all the best and bye for now.